things in place, and I think guys are doing what we thought they could do, and we're asking them to play games, but we're always trying to go Cowboys!
What is your level of patience with him, knowing that he hasn't played in the NFL previously?
I think there's not too much patience. Go Cowboys! In the spots to see what they can add. We're going to see, Turpin on the field playing more receiver now. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Just seeing the young guys get an opportunity to show us what they have.
So Haley asked you about Mike calling plays, but offense overall, there's been some tweaks to it, some changes. Your expectations of what this offense, you think, at this point now is capable of doing?
I think we're capable of doing what we did last year and probably plus, because, again, Mike's calling the plays. We have some new weapons, and Dak is throwing the ball really well. And so it's going to be – I think we're going to have a lot of good things from the offensive side of the ball.
Will McClay, thank you so much for sitting in with us. We are excited for this first game of the preseason for your Dallas Cowboys, but we're just getting started here on Countdown to Kickoff. When we come back, we've got head coach Mike McCarthy sitting in with us. We'll be right back after this. to you by Dr. Pepper, an official soft drink of the Dallas Cowboys, the one fans deserve. Back here on the field, Haley Sutton, Mickey Spagnola, and as promised, we've got none other than head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, sitting with us. Mike, for you, this is year 4, but a new role for you calling those plays. You've talked about it extensively, but just how excited are you to get back into that role?
I'm really excited to get out there and compete again, but most excited really to see our young players play. This is a big night for them. We're going to sit 25 of our veterans, so the fact that we're going to get some work against their first group is an excellent opportunity. But it'll be fun to get out there and compete again in the play calling.
So when you get a bunch of young guys out there the first time, what kind of are you looking for? Your sort of philosophy of how to treat these preseason games?
Well, the biggest thing, you have to get all the little things in order, and that's what we really focus on. And I think the most important thing is I'm having stink keeps popping out of my hair, is pace of operation, just the boundary mechanics, all those things. But most importantly is our play style, the finish. Just make sure they handle all the situations and just get up to that full speed work.
For you, it's obviously it's game 1 for.
So I can hear.
It's okay. I'll wait till you stick it back, and I'll try to talk a little bit louder.
It's preseason.
It's preseason.
All right.
Game 1. How much
I do better calling plays than I do in this damn interview.
You're doing great. The earpiece is good, us too. That's why we get the headset.
Yeah. I'm in the headsets.
But for you, how much do you really get out of game 1 of preseason? What is this kind of like a threshold for you to work towards, or what is it that you look for in this first game?
No, this is a starting point. I mean, you talk about being an aggressive, disciplined football team. It doesn't turn on with a switch. So, I mean, you got to get out here and compete and get the play style where you want it. But the discipline is of live action. This is really the only arena that you really get this work. So you have to have these games. Now we're in a situation with our roster that we feel like we got to really focus on the back end because we got some really, really tough decisions. And and I'm always looking at the 53. As a starting point there because it's really about the 68. I think clearly that, our 68 players will come from this 90-man roster.
So tonight, one of the positions that you probably have some decisions to make is the running back position. The running back's not named Tony Pollard. How will you kind of utilize those guys tonight?
Really, if you watch the running back position, it'll be pretty much like that probably for most of the positions where because of the numbers that we're playing with, it's going to be a lot like a game on Sunday. So my point is we'll roll all 4 of those running backs, but they'll also play all 4 quarters on special teams. So, we just want to be very cognizant of not only how many opportunities they get, but space them out over the course of a game and like it would be in regular season Sunday.
I want to ask you about your offensive line. Obviously, there's a lot of movement in the preseason. How do you validate or how do you kind of decide who fits best where whenever you're making those decisions?
That's really, it's developing your offensive line is twofold. Everybody wants to get the 5 guys out there and get the continuity. We obviously haven't had that yet. But with that, our younger players have gotten a lot of opportunities. So same deal. I mean, it's going to be, the second level guys as far as how they compete to be on the 53, but it all starts up front, and then on the flip side of it is we have tremendous depth of our defensive line, so it'll be great to see them rotate in there. So this is exciting. I've always looked forward to these games. The first one is, you don't sleep at night because, you just want to get up there and get going. But this is a big night for our young guys.
And one of your young guys that's probably a big night for is your kicker, Brandon Aubrey. It's his first opportunity to kick in a live NFL competition. I know what you're hoping for, but how much patience do you show with a guy that's basically a rookie kicker?
Well, part of the commitment we made to go, exclusive to him, I think speaks for itself. So, with that, I'm hopeful offensively we can put him in position for some opportunities. He needs live work. He's checked every box so far. We knew the talent was there. That was very obvious when we saw him. But you really watch his demeanor and you look at the battery of the snapper, holder, and kicker. 2 to 3 parts are new. So we got to get the operation, game ready, and so all that. Hopefully, we'll get some opportunities there.
So watching him in warm-ups, he's not kicking into that wind in Oxnard, right? And I can see the big leg you were talking about here thank goodness there's a roof over us, right?
Yeah, no doubt. He has a huge leg. I mean, the ball explodes off his foot, so very impressive.
Last question, Mike, before we let you go. I'm sitting here and I can see Chris Vaughn over on the sidelines.
Yeah.
For him to be able to get to coach his son at the professional level, how special is that?
I couldn't imagine. I mean, that was such a special moment for all of us. You know, we're on pins and needles as we went through the draft to hopefully it worked out, and it did. And I think Jerry and Steven just couldn't handle it any better. So I just knowing Chris now for 3 years, I know how proud he is. But he's a dad and he's a Cowboy in the same breath. So he's rooting for him, but he's also, you know, I don't have to worry about giving him a kick in the ass because Chris has already done it. So it's I'm so proud. I mean, he wears it all over his face. So.
Well, that's head coach Mike McCarthy. Mike, thank you so much. We're excited to get to see you call some plays tonight in this first preseason game, but we'll go ahead and let you go. We're also going to go ahead and take a break here on Countdown to Kickoff. This blog, of course, was brought to you by Dr. Pepper, an official soft drink of the Dallas Cowboys, the one fans deserve. And when we come back on Countdown to Kickoff, we've got Isaiah Standback sliding into the seat to chat a little bit more about this preseason game. This segment brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Back down here on the field, we're just about 50 minutes away from kickoff here at AT&T Stadium. Haley Sutton, Mickey Spagnola, and we've got him on the field for right now, but none other than Isaiah Standback. He'll be up in the booth calling this one on CBS 11. Isaiah, how exciting is this for you?
Super excited. We're back in D-Town. We was down there in Oxnard in the nice weather, but we got nice climate controlled here, Mick, so we should be all right.
Did you ever have to play with a roof over your head?
You know what? When I was playing down here, it was not in this nice facility. It was down there in the old school in Irving.
Let's talk about this game because we just had a chance to chat with Mike McCarthy. He's excited to see a lot of these young guys take the field. You're going to have a bird's eye view of this one. What are you looking for?
I'm watching that running back group. You know, I'm watching the running back group, but I'm also taking a peek over at the receivers. You got, Jalen Tolbert needs to step up into the fold. Last year, he kind of disappeared, being the draft pick that he was. And then you also have Jalen Brooks, who's been showing up in a big way over in camp. Down there at the bottom of the draft, they pulled him in here. He's going to have a great opportunity to come out here and show up like he's been showing up at those practices. So there's going to be a big position battle. Simi Fehoko, this is his time starting to run out, so he needs to make some big plays in the preseason as well.
You know, there's another guy that they're trying to incorporate into the receiving core is Kavontae Turpin. We've seen him get offensive snaps now as a wide receiver. Your thoughts on just what you've seen from him as a wide receiver so far?
I think he does really well as a wide receiver, Mick. I think with this new offense that Mike McCarthy is instilling, he's going to have a great opportunity to get the ball in his hand without having to be all the way down the field. I think when people think about Kevontae Turpin, they think about his ability to blaze by anybody with his lightning speed. But he's going to have a chance in this West Coast style offense to run a 5-yard out, to run a nice little option route, be a high precision pass for the quarterbacks, get it in his hands, and then you'll see that lightning in a bottle show up.
Let's talk about that West Coast offense because it's been chatted about a lot. Mike McCarthy taking over the play calling. Walk us through what this West Coast offense should look like and what we can expect out of the wide receivers this year.
Yeah, so the West Coast offense, I've ran it myself back in college and some of my time in the league as well. It's all about moving the chains, okay? You want a time of possession. For those that don't know much about football, you want to control the clock. 60-minute game, you want your offense having it for about 35 minutes, right? That means your defense doesn't have to be on the field as long. But running the ball effectively, play action, quick 5-7-yard passes, get it in the hands of your playmakers and let them go out here and showboat.
So give us an idea what it's like to reach the NFL level and have a position change. You did it, right? Quarterback, they're going to make him a wide receiver, then a tight end.
Yep.
Well, you got this young, undrafted rookie, John Stevens, who and he was in college for 5 years as a wide receiver.
Correct.
Now they're transitioning tight end.
Correct.
How tough is that transition?
It's very difficult, especially at the tight end position, right? He's used to being, the big guy on the outside against the smaller DBs, and he still has the ability and the opportunity to go out there and run routes against safeties, cornerbacks, and have that matchup, the advantage in that matchup. But then the game changes when he has to go put his hand in the ground and go against a 280, 290-pound defensive end. When he has to be able to combo block with the tackle, work up to the next level. Is he going to be confident and comfortable in those situations? They'll have a little bit more leniency with him in those regards, but he's going to have to show up in a big way at the receiver position on the tight end front.
And he's flashed in training camp. Now it's a different story. It's the game. So what's that like when now it counts transitioning positions?
Yeah, I think you have to go out there. For him, he needs to lean on the things that he feels confident with. And right off the back, that's going to be receiving. So I think they're going to put him in a positive position to be maybe flexed out away from the tackle box a little bit, allow him to get out there and run his routes, catch the ball, high point the balls because he's 6'6" with his big old frame. Red zone threat out of this world. So hopefully they give him a chance to get his feet underneath him a little bit and then work his way into the blocking scheme and let him build his confidence there.
Yeah, and he's every bit of 6'6". I mean, he towers over you. You got to look up in order to see him. I want to continue talking about the tight end position because obviously losing Dalton Schultz in free agency last year, the natural the natural progression in that was having Jake Ferguson step in. But with this young group, it kind of feels like it's still wide open. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right. I think you're looking at, obviously Ferguson being number one and Hendershot probably being the number 2 guy. So I think you can probably expect to see those guys get a little bit of burn tonight just to get their feet wet. But then you look at it, who's the number 3 guy? Is it going to be Sean McEwen, who's been around for a little bit? Is it going to be obviously Luke Schoonmaker, who just showed up, in training camp, really touching the field? So they have some guys there, and then you already mentioned John Stevens. It's a very loaded room. They have an amazing coach in Linda Wells that is coaching all of them up, but I think they're all different in their offerings. So it's going to really depend on who brings their best attribute to the field and shows up in the preseason.
What do you think's going through Deuce Vaughn's mind right now? 5'5", my size, going into the NFL.
You know what? I think he doesn't have to look any further than last year. You talk about a smaller guy in Kevontae Turpin that showed up in a big way last preseason and earned his roster and made a big splash. Now you got Deuce Vaughn, who's a small fish in a big pond, but you go out there and make a big old splash.
And the defensive line has talked about how challenging it is to see and keep track of him, especially when he goes in motion. So we are so excited to see Deuce Vaughn get out here and get his first NFL reps. Isaiah, we are excited for you to be in the booth. You can catch him on the broadcast along with some of our other staff members as well. We'll go ahead and let you go get prepared for that. Let's go ahead and take another break here on Countdown to Kickoff, but we are just getting started, guys. When we come back, Nick Eatman will join us on set to talk about his new podcast and what you should be looking out for in the game.
America. Go Cowboys!
to Kickoff at AT&T Stadium. This segment brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. Well, hey, we have had so many changes with our podcast lineup throughout the years, but we've got a pretty exciting new one that debuted earlier at training camp, hosted by none other than our guy, Nick Eatman. Here's a sneak peek at that podcast.
What's the one thing you feel like you've got to prove to any kind of critics or doubters or whatever? Because obviously you were a very, very productive college player, All-American, and went to the 6th round. So there was teams that had their questions. What do you think is the biggest thing you have to show them?
Man,
or do you care? Do you even care what they have to say?
It's never about proving doubters wrong. It's always about proving the people that believe in me right. It's been like that my entire career. I've had my support system. I've had the people that have been in my corner ever since I was a freshman in high school that have said, man, we believe in you, and we believe that you're going to come out here and you're going to do what you've done this entire time. Coaching staff, players on this team that have talked to me, them as well. So any outside noise, outside critics, we're not worried about that. We're worried about playing football and improving the people that do believe me right.
Our newest Dallas Cowboys podcast, Cowboys Storyline, and the host is here with us, Nick Eatman. Nick, we're so used to seeing you on the break that it's weird to see you solo up there, but you've had some pretty cool guests on the show so far.
Yeah, we definitely have, and it's going to be a different format, I think, when we come back to the Star full time. But since we're out there, might as well get some guests in, and we've had some really good ones. Of course, Deuce right there. He's so impressive, a young man, and everyone's excited to see him. I just couldn't help but think about how cool that phrase is. Not worried about what the doubters say, worried about what the people that support you. That's a very great, healthy approach. It's a glass half full approach of like you're worried about the right things.
So give us an idea of what you've seen out of him so far in these first couple of weeks of training camp.
What I like is the fact that Tony Pollard hadn't been out here a lot because they're limiting him with the injury, and plus he had some personal issues that he came back to Dallas for. And so with Ronald Jones being out, they give him the ball. He's a running back. This isn't one of those things where we got to figure out roles for him. Right now, they're giving him the ball in the trenches, in between the tackles. So that's what I'm excited to see, just him play running back.
Obviously, the offense will kind of be the focal point of these preseason games. The defense looks pretty solid. What are your expectations of this offense? What do you expect to see in preseason game 1?
What I love about the offense is that they use every blade of grass of 53 yards wide. Everything is really wide. And when you have playmakers like the Deuce Vaughn, like a Pollard, like a Turpin, of course CD and all those guys, but you want to get them in space. And I think that's one thing I've seen out of this offense with Schottenheimer and of course, Mike calling the plays, is that they're going to spread everything out, and you'll see your tight ends, using the width of the field. So that's what's going to be interesting to me, is just kind of opening things up literally.
So there's been another element they've added to that running back room. It's a fullback of all things.
Yeah.
And I think people need to understand that they're going to probably use Hunter Lupke to hand him the ball. They've been doing it. Number 43, by the way, so keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, for sure. Hunter Lupke, and he's a guy that was very productive in college, and but another guy to keep an eye on that'll be similar in role is Sean McEwen, because Sean McEwen is another tight end that they really love. They're trying to figure out how they're going to use all these guys. I know John Stevens is a guy that they really like, but that fullback, running back, tight end room, that's going to be fun to see how this thing all plays out in the next couple games.
And Haley, that's what these games are for, to try to sort out all that decision making they need to do.
I'm glad I'm not the one who ever has to make those decisions. One more question, Nick, for you. The defensive side of the ball is going to be the steady way for this team, but still some question marks. The first name that comes to my mind, Mazi Smith. He's a guy who's told us he loves to hit people. Do we expect to see Mazi Smith to hit some people today?
Yeah, he says he doesn't. What did he say? I don't love football. I just want to hit people. Okay, like that's fine.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I hope you like football. Can you just like it at least? No, but pushing people around and being that guy in the middle that just stops everything in its tracks. Jonathan Hankins was another guy that I got to have on the show, and he said that Mazi's strength is it's off the charts. And he's one of the strongest guys too. But he says Mozzie is just a different kind of guy. He can push people back. He's not going to get moved around. That's something this defense really needs in the middle.
All right, so we'll look to see it. And you guys can keep up with Cowboys storyline on DallasCowboys.com. Nick, thank you so much for your time. We're going to go ahead and take another break here on Countdown to Kickoff. That segment, of course, brought to you by Ashley Home Store, the official furniture store of the Dallas Cowboys. But we come back, we're going to have a little science lesson, shall we? Patrick No-C Walker sitting in our hot seat here on Countdown to Kickoff. NRG company. Haley Sutton, Mickey Spagnola, and Mickey, we've been talking a lot about this offense, but I know a guy who knows a thing or two about this Cowboys defense and a little bit of science as well. We've got none other than Patrick No-C Walker sitting with us. Patrick, we know the offense is still a little bit of a work in progress, but this defense has looked unstoppable at training camp so far. Just what have you seen out of that side of the ball?
It's exactly what you said, Haley. It looks unstoppable. And what should excite Cowboys fans is this is a defense that led the league in takeaways 2 years in a row these past 2 seasons. And they're coming in looking not only equal to what they were, but on paper, they're better. Talk about the addition of a guy like Eric Scott. Talk about Jordan Lewis returning from injury soon, coming into a system where Deron Bland had a breakout year. Stephon Gilmore, can't sing enough praises for him, former NFL Defensive Player of the Year. These are the guys that are playing behind Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, and oh, by the way, toss in Mozzie Smith while you're at it.
Yeah, and one of the things I think we've seen, and it sort of disrupted training camp, is this pass rush. This pass rush, let me tell you, it looks like it's for real.
Absolutely. Again, dropping in a guy like Mozzie Smith, first-round pick out of Michigan. He was the definitive run stopper, but the Cowboys have said time and again they're looking to unlock the pass rush ability in him. But as that's coming along, you still have Micah Parsons looking like he's at another level, if you can believe it. DeMarcus Lawrence still at a Pro Bowl caliber level. But then guys who are going to come on like Chauncey Ghost and some of these younger guys that just help make the pass rush that much more robust. It's going to be a problem for opposing offenses in 23.
Another problem that we've seen is the amount of depth that this defense has, specifically with guys like Jabril Cox and Wanye Thomas, who, in my opinion, have been two of the stars of training camp so far. They definitely look like guys who are competing for a roster spot.
And you have to love what you're seeing from Wanye Thomas. The Cowboys lose Donovan Wilson and Israel Mukuamu in the first week of training camp practice due to injury. Israel Mukuamu is back. Donovan Wilson is out of his boot. But in their absence, Marquise Bell steps up, the young safety, second-year guy. Wanye Thomas, second-year guy. And Wanye has been making at least one big play at least every single day in practice. this secondary, whether it be the veterans, Trevon Diggs, Deron Bland, you can categorize him there, Jordan Lewis, Stephon Gilmore, but Malik Hooker, he's leading that safety group, Jaron Kearse. I mean, where do you find the weak spot on this defense? Spoiler, there isn't one.
and you know, he's exactly right, because if you were looking at the roster right now, you're going, okay, what do they need? Where do they got to fill in? And really, other than keeping an eye on the kicker, right, they've got what they need so far. And then you mentioned Wanye Thomas. He's got another dimension. He was a kick returner at Georgia Tech, right?
Absolutely. So keep that in mind when you're talking about Kevontae Turpin likely to not get any return reps in this game. Please don't misconstrue that. He's going to be the absolute run returner going forward, but you might see him on offense more than not in this preseason, because that's the plan, to see what they can get from him. But you have a guy like Deuce Vaughn who can give you some return game. Wanye Thomas can give you the return game. It seems like the word that needs to be going forward for this Cowboys team in 2023, versatility. Almost everyone on the roster has it. And again, we're even talking about Mozzie Smith. Hey, we saw Jonathan Hankins getting in on the pass rush in camp. So it seems like everyone can do multiple things, and that's what helps this Cowboys team be that.
You know, we were in training camp, and I was talking to Wanye, and he said something about returning kicks, and I go, you return kicks to do? To also? And he said, yeah, at Georgia Tech. I said, were you good at it? He goes, watch my tape.
I love it.
We'll
watch
have to
the
find
tape.
the receipts.
Right?
Wanye is also a guy that likes to chatter a little bit at practice, so it's been fun to see that competitive side going on. Patrick, before we let you go, what are you looking for out of this game? What makes it a successful day for the Dallas Cowboys today?
Top priority for success is everyone return how they came onto this field. Healthy. So that's priority one. Outside of that, I'm looking for the young guys. I'm looking for this running back battle to really get going. They're not going to have Ronald Jones due to injury. 4 quarters, 4 running back competition. Let me see everybody get a helping, and so we can make a determination going forward. Wide receiver group, Jalen Tolbert, Simi Fehoko, Jalen Brooks, Jalen Moreno-Crawford.
All the Jalens.
All the Jalens in the wide receiver battle. Linebacker battle, Jabril Cox. He's leading LB3 right now, but DeMarvion Overshown. What's the rookie out of Texas and the born and bred Texas boy going to bring tonight? A lot to watch in this first preseason game.
All right. Well, Patrick just gave you a list of guys that you need to watch out for. Patrick, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take another break here on Countdown to Kickoff. That segment, of course, brought to you by Reliant and NRG Company. And when we come back, we've got even more players that you should be paying attention to in this first preseason game against the Jaguars. Countdown to Kickoff. We'll be right back after this. Kickoff. Just over 28 minutes until we kick off the first game of the preseason, which means you've got plenty of time to go order yourself a pizza before this one gets kicked off. This segment brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza, Papa John's. Mickey, what's your pizza of choice?
Papa John's, of course, right?
I meant flavor.
Just sausage and mushrooms.
Well, we've got a lot of players that we need to be keeping an eye out for on this one. The big battle, though, looking at the wide receiver room. Jalen Brooks is a guy who we've been very high on during training camp, but what do you see out of Jalen Brooks?
Yeah, Jalen Brooks, the amazing thing is also the fact that his journey to the Dallas Cowboys, he starts out at Wingate. You ever heard of Wingate? Small college. Went to Tarleton State, close to here. But again, he didn't get to play because of COVID. Then he transfers to South Carolina and has a really nice career there and was one of their lead receivers. Now, the fact that he's here with the Cowboys and he has flashed in training camp, right? He's flashed in training camp, practice after practice, and we're going to keep an eye on him tonight. Number 83, right? Another guy that we've talked about already, John Stevens. He's a tight end. He's transitioning from being a wide receiver in college. And he's another guy, started at TCU, and then all of a sudden he ends up at Louisiana. He was a wide receiver. The Cowboys are trying to transition him to a tight end. He's big, 6'6", 245, and he has flashed in camp time and time again.
Let's switch over to the defensive side of the ball because, as we've talked about, Mickey, this is an exciting defense, but a couple of players still looking to solidify their spot, that being number 37, Eric Scott.
Yeah, absolutely. And Eric Scott, well, the Cowboys caught my attention with Eric Scott because they traded up to the first pick in the 6th round to draft a cornerback from Southern Mississippi. And immediately when they got to off-season, OTAs, minicamp, this kid was getting snaps with the first-team defense. And he had another guy that's flashed in training camp. He seems to make play after play after play. So keep an eye on him. He's running with the second team, but playing like a first-teamer. Another guy that has flashed, Tyler Coyle. He's been with the Cowboys for 2 years, predominantly on the practice squad. He's only played in 3 games. But as a safety, he has shown up. And keep an eye on him because he's been getting reps with the first-team defense.
Eric Scott, the first interception for the Dallas Cowboys at training camp, so not a bad way for him to start his rookie career. But the person, Mickey, that we're all got our eyes on in this one, none other than Brandon Aubrey. Not really a competition for him anymore as he's the only kicker on the roster, but maybe a competition within himself.
Right, and he wants to be the only kicker on the roster when they get to 53. He's got to prove himself. He didn't play football in high school. He played soccer. He played soccer at Notre Dame, played in the MLS, and he was a soccer player and decided, okay, I don't know if I'm getting anywhere as a soccer player. Let me see if I can transition to maybe kicking the football. He told me he was watching a game one night with his wife, and his wife says, you ought to try kicking the football. And he goes, okay, let me try that. And here he is now, and he's going to get a huge chance tonight. And I was watching him warm up, and we've seen him kick in training camp. And this last week, he was 26 of 29 and kicking into that blasted wind. Those uprights on that side of the field have been the ruin of many a kicker. He was pretty successful. I saw him warming up here, and he's got a bigger leg than what it showed kicking into that wind. He hit from 53 in warm-up, so he's got the leg. I think now we got to see, does he have the composure to compete in the NFL?
Brandon Aubrey, 14 of 15 in the USFL. He was perfect at those PATs, so no worries there. But like you said, Mickey, this is a perfect opportunity for him to prove himself. So that's some players that you need to keep an eye on. And we're going to go ahead and take another break here on Countdown to Kickoff. But when we come back, it's everybody's favorite segment. We got a little sounds from the sidelines. That's coming up next on Countdown to Kickoff. 20 minutes until we get to see the Dallas Cowboys in action. This segment brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Haley Sutton, Mickey Spagnola with you here. Mickey, it's exciting thinking about all these younger guys who are going to get an opportunity to play. But one of the guys who I'm really looking forward to is Jake Ferguson. He had a tremendous season last year. He's kind of taken over the leadership role of that tight end room. And we had him mic'd up at training camp last week. Take a listen to the tight end.
It's a beautiful day, Big Hank. Let me see you smile. Yeah. Let's get after it. Hey, did you peace sign him? I had to. He grabs my scalp. All he can do is grab your head. You got to teach him some technique. Hey, what I'm talking about, baby. Watch the film. Watch 997. Who's he going against? Who's he going against? Ah! Yeah. Nah. I'm cutting your ass. It doesn't matter. Your kneecaps are on the numbers. Your kneecaps are third row. Yeah, lady, yeah. Yeah. How'd you do that? Say it again. Huh? Yeah. My brother and I. Now we're coming. Fergus shot. Bass Bros. Something's like, daily occurrence.
No shortage of personality from that group for sure. Hey, you can catch that interview as well as all of our other Cowboys content on Connected TV. You can find that on your Dallas Cowboys app. But Mickey, just that tight end room obviously will be a position that we'll really be watching. But the guys throwing to the tight ends as well, Will Grier and Cooper Rush, two guys we really haven't had a chance to talk about going into today's game. What are you expecting out of them?
Yeah, and these preseason games are so important to these backup quarterbacks. We're not going to see Dak Prescott tonight. Cooper Rush will probably start off, and then he'll hand off to Will Grier. And I think one of the things you need to understand with these backup quarterbacks, once they start the season, they rarely, if ever, get snaps in practice. They might get a half a dozen the entire week. So these games, these preseason games, is when your backup quarterbacks can grow. And that's why it was so, I thought, rather amazing what Cooper Rush did last year, starting those 5 games and taking to the Cowboys a 4-1 record with Dak Prescott out. Now, Will Grier is trying to convince everybody, hey, you need to keep 3 quarterbacks on this 53-man roster. And this game for him, this at least a half, is going to be really, really important. And he's trying to tell the Cowboys, my hand's up in the air. I want to be that 3rd quarterback on the roster.
It'll be exciting to see. I had a chance to chat with both of those guys, and when I asked Will Grier what he was expecting out of himself, he said, I'm not putting any pressure on myself to be perfect out here. I'm just going to throw the football and do what I do best. So we are excited to see those quarterbacks. We're excited to see all of these guys as they get out here and compete in preseason game 1 against the Jaguars. That's going to do it, though, for our time here on Countdown to Kickoff. For Mickey Spagnola, our entire crew here, I'm Haley Sutton, and we're going to send things up to the booth for our game, where you can catch Kyle Yeomans and Bill Jones on the broadcast.
Go Cowboys!
Countdown to kickoff has officially ticked under 15 minutes. Actually, under 14 minutes here from AT&T Stadium as the 2023 season is set to kick off from Arlington. It's the Dallas Cowboys and the Jacksonville Jaguars as we welcome you up into the booth for the final segment of Countdown to Kickoff presented by AT&T. Alongside Bill Jones, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We will be with you over the next 4 hours, bringing you the first preseason action for this 2023 Cowboys team. We'll have Isaiah Stanback in the booth with us in a couple moments. Haley Sutton down on the sideline, but it's storylines abundant for this Cowboys team. Plenty to look for, and it starts with the head coach and Mike McCarthy calling plays as a head coach for the first time at the helm of the Cowboys and for the first time since 2018. A lot of eyes on him on what he can do in his first real audition at the position.
You know, and from the start of training camp nearly 3 weeks ago now in Oxnard, California, everybody, all of us in the media, we've had our eyes on the offensive play caller too. I think it's